IVM.
Promotions, demotions, caste, age, qualifications, disqualifications, gender, marriage, pregnancy. What are we talking about? Work, of course. Welcome to the second season of The Longest Constitution, where we are looking at work. The workplace, wages, salaries, and more. But what is work? What does our constitution have to say about it? And more importantly, how have people fought to work? We are looking at laws which unfairly discriminate against people from working and getting their due, and how the constitution has been a fantastic measuring tape to strike down rules, laws, and regulations which deny us our fundamental rights. Today's episode takes a look at discrimination in the workforce, from diplomats to flight crew to makeup artists. And we have warmed up in the first season, where we looked at sex workers and bar dancers who were denied the right to work on moral grounds. And we also saw how the home and marriage are institutions marked by inequality and are yet upheld and celebrated. And from home, we move on to the workplace. Our first story today is set in 1948. A young woman, Chonira Beliappa Muthama from Kerala, clears the Indian Civil Services exam, the first woman to do so. Not only that, the Indian Foreign Services was her first and only choice, bus, except that a sheet of paper is pushed under her nose and she is compelled to sign it. According to a rule of the Indian Civil Services regulations, if a woman, that's just right, if you're a woman, you would have to resign if you chose to marry. What the hey? So you spend hours and sometimes years to crack and clear an exam, only to be told that you have to leave because you want to marry? Yes, husbands are a pain and a nuisance, but they can't be used to force you to retire. And that underlines how men's monopoly over work. Just a second, not all work, just paid work is literally from the highest position to the lowest. And the idea is that there's a conflict between employment and marriage. But if you're a woman, men can trample all over the world, but married women get back into the house and do some seva for your pati. That's what neighborhood aunties feel, I'm sure. But for the government to put this in the form of rules makes that ruthlessness so transparent. So extraordinary women, Rama Mehta, Meera Sinha Bhattacharya, two bright, sparkling women left their jobs in the Indian Foreign Services because of this naked bias against the gentler of the species, as a judge put it. And of course, they were very successful even after being forced to leave the IFS. So it was okay for K.R. Narayan, who later became the 10th president of India, to marry a Burmese in 1951. Of course, with the permission of the Ministry of External Affairs, and other diplomats cheerfully married and zoomed around the world. But married women as diplomats, no. Because that would be the death knell of India's foreign policy, right? In 1979, C.B. Muthama, indignant about being pushed over for a promotion, petitioned the Supreme Court and said that because she was a woman, she was discriminated against, denied a due promotion. And as was shared with her, she was actually given lower marks in her UPSC Viva because she was a woman. In court, Justice Krishna Iyer made a note about how this petitioner bewailed. Actually, she didn't wail. She very calmly argued her point. But he did note the hostile discrimination against women, of the misogynist psyche that made men think that married women are inefficient. And as he pointed out, the same should apply to married men. So he dismissed the petition, but not the problem. And the Ministry of External Affairs made a few policy changes quickly. So under the Constitution of India, Article 16 guarantees equality of opportunity. Plus, Article 15 prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. But what about once you're employed and your employer makes your life harder because you are a woman? Well, that is a whole different matter. So, Nargish Mirza, No, I am not related to her. Nargish Mirza, an air hostess, discovered that under the Air India Corporation rules, the service conditions of air hostesses could be terminated if they turned 35 years old, or married within 4 years of service, or conceived. That's like saying, I'll fire you if you age, if you marry, if you reproduce. Try telling a man that. And 35 is a ridiculously young age to stop working. Today, one has mid-career workshops to see what one can do in the next 30 years. Anyway, this was a blatant violation of Article 15 of the Constitution. It was like punishing women for wanting it all, for wanting to marry and have a career, for having a child. And when Nargish Mirza and other air hostesses challenged the constitutionality of this in court in 1981, the court called these clauses unconstitutional. To quote, "These conditions are callous and cruel and act as an open insult to Indian womanhood, the most sacrosanct and cherished institution." Callous and cruel, yes, but calling Indian womanhood a sacrosanct and cherished institution? Quite problematic, and we'll save that for another time. The court also said that whether a woman, after having a child or children, chooses to work or finds it difficult is her personal matter, and that Air India has nothing to do with it. So said Justice Fazil Ali. And that just like marriage, the freedom to enter and exit employment is for the employee to decide. And these unreasonable grounds like marriage and pregnancy are manifestly unconstitutional. So marriage and pregnancy were clearly seen as disabilities which would impair a woman's ability to work efficiently. And the idea of employment and work rests on this idea of this able-bodied and focused man, this Uttam Purush, who can work relentlessly, endlessly, unaffected by marriage and children. I don't think it's good for either women or men. There's something called life, and work is just one part of it. God, patriarchy is exhausting. And as we end today's class and take off from Air India and land in Bombay, where the Cine Costume Makeup Artists and Hairdresser Association passed a bylaw. They passed a bylaw that prohibited women from working as makeup artists. Apart from women, also anyone who had not spent 5 years in Maharashtra from becoming members. Arre? This clause effectively operated as a ban on women being employed as makeup artists in the $2 billion film industry. So simply as a woman or anyone who has just moved to Bombay, sorry, you can't be a makeup artist. Why ever not? Now, unlike the first two instances where it was the government which was the key employer, in this case, it was a private body. Charu Khurana, a makeup artist, was denied membership to the body in 2009 because she was a woman. And she argued that under Articles 14, 19 and 21, this bylaw was unconstitutional and petitioned the Supreme Court. Cine Costume Makeup Artists and Hairdresser Association down, and women were granted membership. Well, today's show was a quick survey of gender-based discrimination. And that is just a scratch on the surface of the long, tumultuous journey and the struggle for parity. Parity between men and women. Parity between people of different castes, gender, and abilities. And the journey to free and fair work. In the next episode, we are going to look at this more closely. Men, women, children, and work. Work and reproduction. Family and productivity, ability and efficiency, access and denial. Did you like this episode? Share it with your colleagues because the Constitution is for everyone. You can catch the latest episode on Wednesday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or on all major podcasting platforms. See you in the next episode.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Advertising is Dead, founder and CEO of Growth School, Vaibhav Sinasti joins Varun. They discuss cohort-based learning courses and where edutech is headed. Why does every marketer need to understand attention span better? On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth helps us understand the concept of attention and how to leverage it. On Tere Mere Raste, Keshav takes us on a trip to Turkey. He visits the city of Cappadocia. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam is joined by Sudarshan Lodha, CEO and co-founder of Strata. They discuss everything you need to know about fractional ownership. And on Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav explores the bizarre story of the origins of modern Malayalam, from a breast tax to a religious power struggle. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Also, do remember, go check out our website, ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, to get a list of all of our YouTube channels. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors on the network this week: Cred, Bank of Baroda, HDFC Mutual Fund, CoinSwitch, Kuber, Intel, and Oxfam India. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Do you wonder why China does the things that it does? Or want to know how we could improve online privacy? Or perhaps you're thinking about how we can kickstart India's economy. If you'd like to search for the answers to such questions, check out All Things Policy, a daily public policy podcast that covers everything from employment figures to aircraft carriers. Tune in from Monday to Friday for new episodes and fresh takes.